Uh, Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in this session, and thanks for Confog to arrange this session for all of us. I'm sure that you would have learned a lot with other sessions which happened earlier today morning, and even you'll have the similar thing for the second half today. So, just a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So let's get going with our session of this, in which we are going to cover YAML tips and tricks for KTS. So my name is Nipendra, and I'm founder of Cloudiga, and I have been in the space of training and consulting for around 5 years now, more than 5 years actually. And we train people on containers, Kubernetes, history of Prometheus, and so on there. Before starting Cloudiga, I worked for different companies and had different roles as system engineer, file system, perf engineering, and support, and so on. So every 2 years, I kind of try to change my career path just to kind of learn or get a breadth of things there. I am also a CNCF ambassador and CK certified as well. I wrote a course on CNCF for Kubernetes, which is a free course on EDX, and it has been taken by more than 150K participants around the world. And also authored the Docker course in 2015. And there's one more course on cloud infra technologies if you're interested to learn about what cloud is, how we kind of get started with the cloud and so on. I would suggest you check out that course, and currently runs Kubernetes and Cloud Native Online Meetup, which is part of this particular event as well. Yeah, so that's a quick intro. So with that, we get going with the agenda, like what we're going to cover now. So I'm going to touch upon some of the basics of YAML first, and then we look at how we use KTS in YAML, or sorry, YAML in KTS, and we look at also some of the API reference of Kubernetes, so that we can see how does the object gets created and so on there. And then at the last, we'll look at some tips for KTS about YAML there. Okay. Yeah, so YAML full form is yet another markup language, and there is there's a spec defined for this. And if you want to kind of check out the spec, maybe you can see the spec on this particular URL, which kind of gives you the complete spec of YAML. Let me open this link here. So it kind of gives you try out different things, write the document, how to read it, and so on. So all the information about the YAML documentation, all about the YAML is here. From the perspective of Kubernetes, which is our main target, we are going to primarily use two things. One is YAML maps. So as you can see that there is a key value pairs, and that's all map is. So here we say API version is equal to v1, kind is set to pod. That becomes your map. Okay. Then we have a list item in which wherever is kind of this hyphen, you're kind of working on a list here. So here we say in the pod construct, we say containers, and here we say in this pod we have containers with the name mysc1 and the image and so on. So this is the image construct for you. So remember,
Sorry,
we do. Yeah, go ahead.
will it be possible for you to increase or zoom the screen?
It's full. Let me see. Is it okay now? Let me just. Hopefully, let me just see if I can make it full screen. That would be okay, I believe.
Yes, yes, this is better.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, it is better.
Or it's better? Okay, fine. Yeah, I think this font is not too black. That might be a problem there. But hopefully it's still visible. I mean, no need to kind of go and read what's there. What I'm trying to convey here is you have these key value stuff that becomes your map. and you have these list here. Whenever you see this kind of a hyphen here, you kind of say that, okay, you're kind of doing a list objects there. So in the pod construct, if you look at, we have containers, and we can have multiple containers in a pod, and that's, we say a list, or the list there. So container 1, container 2 becomes your list there. Okay, the indentation can be done with one or more spaces. So generally, when somebody start learning YAML, we ask question, are we going to use one space, two space for indentation? So there is no defined rule for that, is that you can use one space, two spaces, but it has to be consistent. That thing which matters there. But no tabs, that's for sure. You cannot use any tabs in your environment. So let me quickly kind of run through one of the YAML file here. Yeah, so hopefully you can see my screen here. Yeah, so here I have a file. The font may be a problem for you guys. Let me just do that. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's visible to everybody. Yeah. So here we have this file called ns.yaml. And as you can see here, it's just a typical YAML file in which we create a namespace here. So here we have two spaces, correct? So one space and two space. So I can't use tabs. Tabs is not allowed. So use two spaces. That's one approach. And if I kind of go and apply it, you will see that this is going to work. Then, for example, if I go in now, let's say I want to create 4 spaces, no problem. You can add 4, you can add 6 also. It's still going to be safe because it's not been, it's not changed because it is already there, correct? What you cannot do is you cannot mix and match. So what I want to say is, for example, if I bring it back here, and let's say currently I have 2 spaces here, I add labels here. And here, let's say instead of 2, I want to make 4 now. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I say env is equal to dev. Now here I say I want to make 2 here, 1, 2. I put one more stuff here. Let's say here is equal to front end, whatever. Now this is not going to work because there is a problem right here. I have 6 spaces, here I have only 4 spaces. So if I try to make a change, it is going to give me an error saying that whatever the error is there, right? But the problem was there because we did not perform the indentation at the same level. So if we had used the 6 spaces here, we should use the 6 one here, or I can bring it back here to 4 or whatever. Like I think 2 was there, sorry. So it was 4 and 2, not 6 and 4. But that's okay. I think you got the gist here. Now if I apply, it's going to work. So the main part to remember here, either you can have 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, and so on. But in a given hierarchy, make sure that you follow the same convention. You can't make a change there. So no tabs, and spaces is up to you, whichever count of spaces you want to have. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry. Okay, are we good? Are you able to see my screen?
No, Nipendra.
Yeah?
No, it's not there.
It's not there, sorry. It got unshared by mistake. All good now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So that's one point to remember, which I was saying, that use only spaces, no tabs, and indentation you want for the spaces, up to you. Now here is one example of a YAML file which I have got from that YAML documentation per se. Now you can see here there is a mix and match, right? So you can see that there is in this particular file we have these lists here. Under the list we can have maps. So you can mix and match there. You can have maps inside the list inside the maps of maps. So all these things are possible within a single YAML file, and it is up to you how do you want to use it. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Okay, now here are some of the issues with YAML, which are good to know. So as you can see here is we are defining a YAML here, and in which we are defining a country code here, Ireland or whatever, right? Whatever we are giving here. Now I'm going to, so for Norway, we have given no, that's the important part here. Now I'm going to have this YAML file load into the Ruby application. And now what happens is, as I load this particular YAML file with Ruby, and if I look at the output of that, this becomes, Norway's value becomes false. What's happening here is this NO is getting treated as the false condition rather than that string here. So that can be a challenge when you are writing a YAML file and you haven't specified the string specifically. It would treat as a false, and that can be a problem. One more thing here. For example, here we are using a YAML reference here. The idea is that I can refer somebody. I can refer somebody by the, what you call, say, this ampersand here. Like, I'm sure you would have seen that. So this is the first line here. This is the one in which I'm saying there's a speaker. Let's say in pointers we say it, right? Pointers and C there, right? So you're saying refer Nipendra as at the speaker, and when you want to decode it, you can say star speaker. So what happens with this? I say star speaker and becomes Nipendra here, right? So all good here, but you can think of some kind of a complicated, or kind of a, say, a bit more kind of a, say, advanced or complex configuration here. And if you kind of make pointers like this in YAML, or reference like this, what can happen is if you have not cared properly, a YAML file can blow up your entire system, right? So because you are referring via reference, and if somebody kind of put some wrong stuff in your YAML file, and if you're not very careful about it, so when this YAML file get loaded into your system or in your RAM of your container or VM, whatever it is, right? It can take a lot of memory resources or a lot of memory from your system, and it can then give out of memory to your system. Just be careful that when you're using a reference, just make sure that you know what you're doing, and just don't apply YAML file if somebody has given you, right? If they kind of had this kind of an issue, it can become a problem. That makes sense? Yeah. But why are we stuck with YAML in Kubernetes in a way, right? So when we saw, okay, YAML is good, it can be very much readable and so on, but there can be a better way, or there would have been a choice where we could have chosen a better way of YAML or something else for Kubernetes. But if you look at here, there is a commit from Joe Beda, who kind of created, one of the creator of Kubernetes. And this, I have got a reference from his talk. I'm sorry about the YAML. So actually, he gave a complete talk on this, that why is YAML can be a painful in Kubernetes, though we are there now. And as you can see, if you look at the comment here, it says that we should be able to get away with just the YAML parser. This will work for now, though, right? So that's how it is, right? It's like you start something. So when they were building Kubernetes, they need something quickly, right? And they chose YAML at that point of time. And now we are stuck with that, right? I'm not saying it's bad, but it just to be, we should know what we are trying to do there. Okay. But anyway, why we can't use JSON over YAML? Why we should prefer YAML over JSON, right? So we know that, okay, in Kubernetes, we can write our manifest file in JSON or a YAML. But why we prefer YAML? There's a reason for that, of course. First of all, YAML is a superset of JSON. So if you have a JSON file, you can always have it into YAML format. YAML is more readable. As you can see, we have the YAML configuration here and the JSON here. The size of the file is also matter, like as the same font size here. I don't want to kind of do a cheat here, but yeah. So here is a YAML file, and if you kind of expand, it becomes your JSON file, which is a bit large. And as you kind of expand more, kind of have more content, the JSON file can kind of may get too big there. It's more readable for sure, and then you can allow comments in YAML that you cannot do in JSON. So this is why we prefer to use YAML in the Kubernetes manifest because of these reasons there. Okay. Now, before we kind of get into much of some of the tips there, let's talk about how does we create an object in Kubernetes and how we can reference it and maybe see its documentation, understand how you can write a YAML file for your object. So in Kubernetes, as we know that we are going to communicate to a API server. And in the API server, we have this core API group and we have this other API groups. Under each API group, we have the version here, as you can see here. So this is the core API group. So /v1 is the GA release. Then maybe we can have a group here, API/batch. And here you can see we have the V1 version and we have the V1 beta 1 version. So depending on the feature you would want, you would go and connect to the respective endpoint. So for example, if there's a feature in the beta, which is going to come in the next release, I want to try it out right now. So I would go and hit the V1 beta endpoint. Otherwise, I'm okay with the V1 release and so on. So every resource in Kubernetes, like pod resource, right? It is under certain hierarchy. Like to create a pod object, I need to kind of go to /API V1 and then pods. To get deployment, I have to go like this. So these are predefined objects are there. And if you kind of look at the API reference documentation of Kubernetes, right? So if I go to API reference, so one page API reference. Yes, if you look at here, in the API reference documentation, we can find out like a pod object. It's under the core API group, right? So core. So we need to kind of hit a certain endpoint to create an object of that type. Now, why I'm talking about that thing right now, because it kind of relates to our YAML kind of understanding there, right? So as you can see here, we have a deployment configuration file here. And in this configuration file, we are defining this spec configuration, right? So let me just go back to the slide a bit. Yeah. So in Kubernetes, when we define a section of spec in that. So spec becomes your desired state. So as we know that Kubernetes always try to make sure that at any point of time, your current state of the applications or the cluster is equivalent to desired state, right? So when I'm creating any object in Kubernetes, we are going to define the spec. So a spec is here for the deployment configuration, and then we see one more spec for the pod configuration. It's a template pod configuration here, right? So we define the spec. That's again for the pod. So let me, if I go and apply this particular YAML file, so this would be created now, and this information is sent to the API server of mine. And if I look at it, would be there now. It's still getting created and all that. That's okay. So if I do get sort of deployment name there. If I do a get deployment, K for kubectl, just to give a short form there. And if I say -o_yaml, so what you see is once I have applied this particular pod or a deployment object, and if I look at its output in a YAML format here, there are two sections we can see in the output there. One is the spec. The spec defines the desired state what you have. And then we have a section of status. So when you create any object, this object gets created in the Kubernetes cluster, and the status is the current state of the object. So at any point of time, I'm going to make sure that I check the spec in the status section and see both are mapping or not. So that is what we are doing it here in this YAML output of any object. So you define any object, you do a get on that, and if you see the YAML stuff on that, you will see this status option, which is going to give you the current state of the objects, whatever you might have there. Okay, yeah. So let's now get into some of the tips there, which we can learn about YAML stuff on Kubernetes. So first tip is you can basically write multiple YAML files into a single file. Say, suppose I want to deploy any application, I need to write the deployment object for that, service object for that, ingress for that, and so on. So instead of having all of those things in a single file, in a different files, we can have them in one file. So the way to do it is you just kind of enable these three hyphens in between two YAML files, and it becomes a separator. So that way you can basically create a large YAML file which contains multiple component of it, deployment, service, ingress, storage, and so on, whatever, and apply them at once. So that kind of would save, basically you can say that, okay, this particular YAML file belongs to this complete app. I do not have to kind of make these or kind of understand these things separately or manage them. Of course, there are more better tools are available like Helm, and then we have a customized tool also. But for the YAML perspective only, you can combine multiple YAML files together. That's the tip one you can think of. Second tip is use codes whenever you are dealing with like the things like Norway here, that where you kind of give a value of an object to no. Better you use the codes there. Otherwise, you would get this kind of error saying that the value is false and then I cannot continue. So if you apply this particular pod configuration, it's going to fail. So better you basically use the codes with the values here, with the string here. Similarly here, if you don't specify the code in the version, then this becomes the integer, or what you can say, float there, 10.3, correct? So if you want to use a string, to make sure that you apply the codes there. So whenever you are in doubt, use codes. It doesn't hurt. Yeah, then we saw about the third YAML configuration or third tip here, which we kind of discussed earlier as well. You can use references. So for example, in a deployment object, as we know that we define these labels to our pod configuration, and we have a selector here, and that selector is generally matched with the label what we have given, right? So instead of writing these labels again here, I can basically give a reference name here, labels to match, and then I can basically put a reference of that particular those labels, just like with the star and the labels to match. And that way I can be sure that my replica set in the deployment would select the right pods which I would like to. That's our tip number 3. Then there is a tip number 4, I mean, using which you can so you can use some YAML linters or IDE plugins to make your life easier. So of course you write YAML files, but you may want to kind of see if my YAML file is correct or not. So simply you can kind of go to your this YAML lint file or YAML lint right here. And there are some other tools that are available for sure. So here you can copy paste your YAML configuration and check if that will get the simple one namespace one maybe, whether that YAML file is good or not. As you can see that it would work. It looks fine, but for example, if I change the tab or the spaces here, it's going to give me an error. So you can use some of these tools to verify whether the YAML content what you have is good or not, right? That's one of the stuff you can do. Then we have one more interesting tool called YQ. And with this YQ, like I'm sure you would have heard about JQ. So similarly, we have this tool called YQ that you can install locally on your workstation, and you can do some kind of checks there. So I've done that already in my setup here. So for example, if I look at YQ and let's say, so there's a help here. So primarily we can use this eval option there, or short form is E here. So you can use YQ eval and see if your file is good or not. So for example, if I say YQ, eval my NS file, right? And this kind of looks fine. But let's say if I change something here, let me change this time here. It kind of gives you the error. So you can kind of do a local check if you would wish to. And similarly, you can basically update some parameters also with this YQ tool and get a new YAML configuration. So for example, if I want to change my tier to, let's say, backend, just for an example. So I'm just going to say YQ eval, and I would put dot metadata. I'm getting in the right dot labels dot tier is equal to something and the file name. Yeah, so you can see that it kind of gives spit out the YAML file for me, so I can basically get this output. I can what I want to kind of see here. There's one more thing which I just a minute. Yeah, you can also convert YAML into a JSON. So whenever you want to have, you can just say YQ, and then you can convert into a JSON format with this YQ tool. So YQ tool can be available on a local workstation, and you can play with it, right? Next is you can use some of the IDE plugins that can help you in doing the YAML management for your Kubernetes there. So what I could do is I have basically, let me see if I have that Visual Code. Yeah, so I have Visual Code installed here, and let me create a file here. Yeah, so you can basically go to Visual Studio Code and you can install the plugins there. So where did that plugin option go? Not editors. Yeah, so you can install the extensions here. So like I have done the installation of extension of this YML, and this YML plugin for Kubernetes is from Red Hat, I believe, and you can basically then easily create your YAML configuration for your Kubernetes cluster. So for example, if I go and create a new file here, so let me, yeah, sorry, I'm just not very used to this thing. Yeah, I'll just do it like that, maybe old way a bit. So here because I already have the YAML plugin installed for the VS Code here, I can say if I say API version here, and okay, let me just give the file name first. So let me say pod.yml, for example. Yeah, so now if I say API version, yeah, so you can see automatically kind of giving me the completion of that. I can say v1, and then if I say kind colon, then if I say pod here, you can see I'm getting the configuration here, pod. I can say deployment, I get deployment here. So if I say pod, I can select pod, and as you can see that you are getting all of these configuration of YAML automatically to you. So you can basically then, okay, now it's kind of giving me, yeah. So you can kind of make a change, just a minor change here, and you can deploy your pod into your cluster. So apart from this plugin, you can also install a Kubernetes plugin, and you can have a complete workflow of creating your YAML configurations for the objects, and then deploying on the Kubernetes cluster directly from the VS Code itself. So VS Code seems to be a very good tool for doing all this purpose, like creating a YAML, deploying to Kubernetes, and all that thing. Yeah, similarly, you have plugins for IntelliJ as well, and maybe some other IDs also. Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's all from my side, and I think we kind of finished exactly in half an hour.